Hey everybody, this is Ruthie Taylor with the Mosaic Home Group, and I am so excited to begin our Ask the Expert series, beginning with Beth Wilson of Wilson Home Organizing here in Tacoma, Washington. She is our first guest, and we sent out a ton of questions to our past clients on Facebook, on Instagram, about organizing questions. And we got a lot of the same questions or similar type questions. So I know that this is going to be super helpful to those of you watching. But to begin with, Beth, I'd love to just ask you how you got into professional home organizing. That's a very specific niche.
It is, for sure. And I, just like a lot of people, I had no idea it was a thing that people did until probably 5 or 6 years ago. I'm a really big fan of Real Simple magazine, and we have a whole section now regularly called Ask the Organizer. Okay. And one day I got super curious and was like, who are these people? What is an organizer? And I started looking into it a little bit, and I thought that they were really only for, in big cities like New York, and for super wealthy people. Like, it seemed like a big luxury. But in my research, I found a woman named Lisa Woodruff, who owns Organize 365, and who in the middle of Ohio, and who coaches other organizers. And I found this world of people who actually organize for us, and who are, who help people with their everyday needs, maintain realistic homes. And I just thought it was so cool. And it's, retidying and kind of culling through my own items and things that I own, and reorganizing spaces is something I've always done naturally. It's something that I do to ease my own anxiety and make myself comfortable in my home. And so I started researching, into how I could do this for other people. And I officially launched about 3.5 years ago in Seattle.
Awesome.
And my husband and I moved down to Tacoma, and I've been full-time since then and haven't looked back.
Awesome. I love that. It's such a unique, I feel like a unique skill set and profession. And I think a lot of people I think when they watch this, they'll go, oh my gosh, I wonder if that's something that I could do. It's such I think a unique profession that's seems fairly new anyhow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's definitely gaining a lot of, kind of people are more aware of it because of Marie Kondo and the Tidy Mexico book. So now it's definitely more kind of mainstream now, which is awesome, because people, when I used to tell people what I do, I'd have to explain myself a little bit. They're like, what is that? And they'd be like, people pay you to do that? And I'm like, yes. But now they're like, oh yeah. And they have their own tidying up experience, or people are kind of more aware of their belongings and how their home space makes them feel kind of now. So it's really cool to be part of this profession in the kind of KonMari world, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I love that. And I want to dive in, because I know we have a ton of questions that our fellow watchers here are excited to hear answers to. So I have a list here, and we'll see how far we can get through them. But a very big common question asked by many people is, my whole house needs organizing. Where is a good place to start when you feel like you have kind of clutter in every room and every corner? Where is the best place for people to begin? Oh, shoot. I lost you there.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. Looks like we're back. Okay.
I recommend starting in a space that's what I would call high impact, which means a space that you are in every day, a space that's not working for you every day, so that when you tackle it and complete that project, it's going to immediately impact life all the time, because that can be very inspiring, and it can kind of guide you in your next steps as you organize other spaces in your home. But in the meantime, it's going to kind of provide you immediate relief in a big way. So oftentimes this area is a common area that everybody in the home shares.
Okay.
Oftentimes it's a heavy traffic area. So an example would be the kitchen, specifically, whichever kitchen counter collects all of that paperwork that comes in every day, where, the kids' stuff lands. Maybe it's where you do breakfast every day and it just never gets put away, or it's really hard to make it happen in a timely manner. The kitchen, somewhere in the kitchen, is often a really great place to start. Or it might be an entryway. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have some kind of mudroom or foyer where people have coats and bags, and that place where all of the things and all of the people come and go all the time, starting there and putting a system in place to purposefully catch all those things that come in the door and purposefully set them aside to go back out. A space like that can be really motivating and also just super helpful to take care of it right off the bat. Whatever that space is that's really bugging you all the time, do that. And then worry about, you know, the attic or the garage or whatever, because those are big projects that will take a long time, but they're not going to affect your day-to-day life immediately. So
I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know my kitchen counters could use some organizing right now. Okay, next question, speaking of kitchens, is what are some space-saving tips that you have for people with smaller kitchens and limited cabinet space? I know that a lot of us in these, in Tacoma, in these older homes, have that same struggle.
Absolutely. One of my favorite products, I actually brought one here today. These little cabinet shelves. It's just an extra shelf that you can put inside your cabinets. It's a great way to separate plates, separate mugs, so you can get more without piling them or stacking them on top of each other so that they're easier to grab. Utilizing a step stool so that you can use your upper cabinets. Going vertical is a really big way to use a small space, both hooks on the walls or using those top cabinets that you normally wouldn't use because they're not accessible. Kind of owning that step stool life when you have a small space can be really helpful if you're able to. Also, baskets with handles that can make things easier to pull all the way out of the cabinets. You know, a lot of times when we're trying to fit a lot in a cabinet, it just gets all shoved back there, and eventually you can't see what's in there. You don't know what's in there. So having a way to pull it all out and look at it, be that your spices or maybe things that come in odd-shaped bags that are hard to corral inside a cabinet, putting them in smaller containers that are easy to take out and put away can make life easier so that you can kind of pack in more stuff in your tiny space, but still access it.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I love it. Such a simple tool.
It is super simple, but you know, like just little tiny habits of taking fully out and putting away can make a big difference in those times.
Right. Speaking of items that help save space, I know a lot of people want pretty bins and you know, cute organizers to organize their house. What are some cost-effective ways or places to buy these bins? I know that was just a common question, is just where to find storage items on a budget.
Absolutely. So it's what's great about organizing being kind of trendy right now is that these items are everywhere, which is good and bad, because first I just want to say you don't need to buy bins until you've done your kind of culling and organizing, because a lot of times they end up being extra clutter. So until you really know what exactly you're storing and where you're going to put it, I don't recommend going out and buying containers, you know, first thing.
Oh, okay.
But when you're at that point, like when you've culled down your items, you know that you need some kind of bin to store this thing now. Some of my go-tos are, the Container Store is great. It's a little bit far away from us here in Tacoma, but the reason it's great is because they have a lot of specific sized items you know, that are really lovely. When I talk about baskets with handles for the pantry, they have those, and they're actually really inexpensive. They're like $4 or $5 a piece, depending on the size that you get. And they normally have all of those things in great stock, so you can go buy as many as you need. With that said, I also love to shop for these items at Home Goods. The tricky part about Home Goods is that they don't have an online stock. They don't always have the same thing, so it can be hard to know what they're going to have when you walk in. But they have absolutely the best prices on woven baskets, natural baskets, on acrylic kitchen bins, the clear bins. Those can be kind of pricey at other stores. And Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, those places normally have a little bit of stock in those items at really great prices.
Okay. And you guys, Home Goods, for those of you guys who are not in university places, right next to Trader Joe's. So we just got one recently, and there's one in Gig Harbor. Is there another local one that you are aware of?
Those are the two closest ones.
Okay, perfect. Next question. Ooh, this is a great question. I love this question. What are strategies that you have if, say, you are really organized and your partner is more of a pack rat, or clutter doesn't bother them as much? You have like the minimalist, and then hoarder is a big word, but let's say you have those personalities together. What strategies do you have to deal with that?
This is super common. We all have different levels of kind of clutter that we're comfortable living in. And it's really hard. The first step is the hardest step, which is you have to have a conversation about it and kind of familiarize yourself with each other's limits. So most of us, are really, we're happy to compromise with our partners, and we want to make each other happy. And there are these little things that often we just don't even realize. I had no idea that pile of socks beside the hamper was so frustrating to you. Let's fix it. So we, having the conversation first, and then the best thing that I can recommend is having some separate spaces that are all your own. Okay. So that you can own and that you can keep as tidy or as untidy as you need. Sometimes if you're lucky enough to have separate closets, that can be a closet space. Sometimes if it's, a storage situation, giving a more of a pack rat partner a specific area of the garage that's all theirs, where they can keep whatever they want in whatever manner they want. Mm-hmm. That way they don't feel like you're telling them they have to get rid of things. It has a place, and that's their stuff to own. Okay. Another helpful tool can be, if you tend to be a neater person and the other person tends to not care as much, agreeing on a spot where the neater person can corral the other person's items can be helpful. So if you share a living space and you just can't stand that all of their work stuff and books and items are out on the coffee table, if you say, hey, when I'm home and you're not here, do you mind if I put all your stuff in this basket? Mm-hmm. The basket's pretty, it's a place for it to go. They know that you haven't thrown anything away. You haven't divvied it up all over the house for them to have to re-find later. Kind of using that as a compromise can be really nice too in a shared space. Just having a space that's designated as theirs can be really helpful.
So like an official drunk drawer that's just
exactly. And it's just theirs, and you don't have to worry about culling it out. Like it's theirs.
Okay, I love that. I think we can probably all relate to that in every situation. So, okay, I had this question. I think every mom has this question with young children, and probably teenagers too, is there is so much stuff in tiny little pieces when you have young children. So what is your advice as far as the best way to manage or organize all the kids' toys that get scattered out across the hours of the day? What's the best way to organize all that?
Well, there are a couple of different methods. And one thing that can really help is the basic idea of just limiting what's available to them. So even if you're not ready to get rid of a lot of toys or items, having a system where you rotate out the toys that are available to them can be really nice. If you're lucky enough to have a storage closet or a garage where you can put a bin of kind of off-season toys, that can be really helpful so that you're limiting the amount of things that they can pull out in a day. It's nice for them because they don't have too many options. It's nice for you because there's less to put away at the end of the day. And so having a toy rotation can be really lovely. That way it's kind of like Christmas. You can do it every month or every 6 months or every quarter, whatever works for your family. Pull out, oh yeah, I forgot about these dinosaurs. That's awesome. Sneak the Hot Wheels back in the bin. They'll go away later. Play with the dinosaurs this month. Eventually you'll figure out what they're really into, which changes. But you'll figure out the real favorites, and those can hang out all the time. But really, because there's just the volume of these toys that you collect all of the different characters, all of the different items.
Yes.
Really limiting that is super helpful. And then with young kids, just really having them participate in the tidying up process at the end of the day or at the end of playtime, whatever kind of schedule for that system works for your family. If they can't read yet, having picture labels on bins is really lovely. And that can be as simple as, printing off some clip art from the computer or printing a picture from your phone of their items.
Oh, great
and
idea.
then it becomes like a matching game for them. Like, oh, I know the Legos go in this bin because there's literally a picture on a bin. That can be helpful. And then making tidying up a game. They have set a timer, they have 5 minutes, get everything where it goes. It's never going to be perfect, especially with the young babies. It's never going to look like a Pinterest playroom. But allowing them to participate is really big because then they're going to want to do it on their own. And so making it as easy as possible for them, putting all of the bins at kid level, except for the ones that you don't want them to get into on their own. That sort of thing, and making them, kid-friendly labels and just limiting what they have. And that's so hard. And it starts with what comes in the house, gifts, hand-me-downs. There's so much that comes in. But if you only keep a limited amount available to them for periods at a time, that's the best advice I can give.
Yeah, that is great advice. As a mom with two little girls, 4 and 6, I love the competition strategy of just a timer. Like they love to beat each other, and so I am going to implement that. That is awesome. Okay, next question. Okay, this is a good one. I know a lot of people, especially in real estate, dealing with estates, I see this a lot. Is what do you do with family keepsakes that are passed down that you might not necessarily want?
This is so hard, and it's a hard thing to grapple with, and we all grapple with it. A lot of times, if you are that family member who kind of takes care of things, you'll end up with an excess of this kind of thing. And the best thing I can do is help give you permission to let it go. If it is something that has some kind of value or has a long line of family history, choosing something to represent the lot can be kind of lovely. If you have a china set from a million years that you're never going to use, your kids aren't going to use, you don't have space to store it, choose a set to keep, in your glass cabinet or on display in the dining room, and let the rest go, or display it on the wall. Any area where you can kind of choose a representative and get rid of the rest can be really helpful. So you're not getting rid of the memory, you're not dismissing the family member that it came from, but you're not a storage facility. So you can choose a sentimental item to represent the lot, display it, love it every day, and let the rest go, and know that it's still continuing on because it's not doing any good in your garage. So if it goes to someone who's actually going to appreciate it for what it is because they love the design, or they really need plates, or it's going to be used and loved, which to me I like to think of as honoring the legacy more so than just storing it in your garage because it used to belong to someone.
Yeah.
If you know that you don't love it or you're not going to use it, take photos or pick a piece to display and let the rest go, and be totally okay with that being okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard that is, especially if you don't love the piece, but you love the memory. And so, yeah, I think we just need to give ourselves permission to let go, and knowing that piece is probably going to bring somebody else a lot of joy, and
exactly.
And keeping a portion or a whether it be a photo or one dish to display. I think that's brilliant advice. And I know a lot of families are dealing with this, of just having to pass on heirlooms. And
absolutely,
most people who are especially starting their family and in starter homes don't have a lot of space. So
yeah,
that's really good advice. Speaking of not having a lot of space, I had a couple questions about storage of linens and bedding and blankets. in the wintertime, we all pull that out. But in the summertime, if we have these homes that don't necessarily have a lot of, don't have linen storage, where's the best place to keep all of those things?
Absolutely. So I'm a big fan of storing extra linens under the bed. If you have those flat under bed boxes, you can also normally find those at Home Goods or anywhere really that sells storage containers. They're being able to slide under the bed. I'm not a big fan of storing a lot of things under the bed. I don't like storing things like shoes that you have to access every day under the bed, because I find that they often get piled up. It's a lot to reach that low down to the ground all the time. But linens, if you change them once a week or every other week or seasonally, storing those kind of flat pieces under the bed, it keeps them from getting musty in a garage. You can zip them up in a container that'll keep them from getting dusty. And it's a nice flat area. Other than that, multi-purpose furniture pieces in ottomans with storage in the living room. Blanket ladders are great because they're vertical and they keep everything flat on the wall.
Yeah.
Anything that's that's multi-purpose in that way. And anytime you can use wall space is really lovely as well.
Well, those are some creative ideas that I didn't think about. That's awesome. Hopefully that a few of you asked that question. Okay. Speaking of organization and junk drawers, if you would like to clean up, if you, go through the process of organizing your kitchen or a drawer or a bedroom, I know for me personally, months pass and then those drawers tend to turn into junk drawers again. What is your tip to maintain organization after we start that process?
The hardest part of any sort of organizing journey are creating new habits. So finding whatever time of day is your time of day where you can do that kind of maintenance and daily, like 5 minutes. It doesn't take very long. For me personally, I found I like to do it in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee. So I've made coffee, the dogs are taken care of before I start work or getting ready to go to work. I walk around while I'm drinking my coffee and kind of re-put away everything that's out. The end of the day for me, I'm normally tired. I don't care anymore. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. And in the morning, I feel motivated. It's, the sunlight's coming in. I can see everything, and and it doesn't take very long. And so that could be the end of the day for you after the kids are in bed, while you have a glass of wine, walking around and just kind of resetting. Finding that time daily. The kids can participate. If you want to make it a family thing, maybe it's right before bedtime and you set a timer for 10 minutes. It's not going to be perfect, especially in the beginning, but if everyone concentrates on their area for 10 minutes, that's going to make a huge dent in the next day. Just putting things back where they go that you've taken out. Creating a habit of daily maintenance is kind of the biggest thing you can do, because doing it daily means you don't have to spend hours doing it on the weekend or once a month. Just doing those daily things. And it's hard to do that at first. It feels like a big chore. And then eventually it'll become natural and part of what you do every day without thinking about it.
I think the key word there is habit. Like, I feel like my family and I will do it weekly, where the clutter starts to bug us and we're like, okay, we call it a 10-minute blitz. Like, let's just clean up for 10 minutes. But if we do it daily, we could probably do it in 3 minutes.
Exactly.
Get involved. I love that idea. That's awesome. Okay. I just want to make sure I don't miss any of these questions. Oh, love this question for all the ladies or men who like clothes and shoes too. For small closets, I think a lot of us just deal with small space, and so our storage feels cramped. So your best tips to keep your closets and shoes organized when you're dealing with small space.
Absolutely. Well, first thing, if it's possible, if you have some kind of garage or storage space where you can put off-season things, that can make a huge difference. Rotating seasonal clothes. Okay. It's a little bit weird here in the Pacific Northwest because we don't we don't really need the heavy winter things, and we don't really need the super light summer things. But anything that is seasonal, swim things, sundresses, or ski pants, the really heavy winter sweaters that we don't need all the time, setting those in an additional storage space in, nice airtight bins can be really helpful. You don't need access to all of your clothing all the time. So if it's possible, removing what you don't need all the time from your daily closet space can be really helpful. The other thing is using your walls and your vertical space. So in these tiny closets, putting hooks on the walls for belts, accessories, and scarves can be really helpful and keep them off hangers, which we normally have precious hanging rod space. Mm-hmm. So putting them on the wall can be helpful. Boxing shoes in plastic shoe containers so that they can stack easily and that you can still see them is lovely. A lot of times shoe boxes, it's great to keep your shoes in the boxes and then you can know what they are, but they're often mismatched sizes. Normally the cardboard gets a little run down and wonky and they start falling all over the place. So having, the same containers that are easily stacked and seen can be really helpful so that instead of having a pile of shoes, you can really see which ones you have. Using vertical, like hanging bags with the little pockets in them can be helpful for accessories. Anything that can make it slim and vertical can be your friend. Also, if you have drawer space, the one kind of thing that I use from the KonMari method all the time is vertical folding. Setting so you can see all of your t-shirts and pull out the one that you need without having a pile. It's a little bit labor intensive on the front end of doing the folding, putting them in there. So it's not for everybody. But when you have limited space, it really can be kind of life-changing to be able to pick out the one thing you need and not have to scruff through, a pile.
I actually, when I read the book, I did that. And then it's like a few months pass by and then all of a sudden it's just like I throw my clothes in my drawer instead of folding anymore. It's the habit, right?
It is. And it's different for everybody, and we all I go through seasons of what I vertical fold and what I don't bother with, depending on what I need at the time. But yeah.
Okay.
Balance is okay.
Yes. Clothes thrown in the drawer is balance for me. Okay. We're going to wrap up here with one last question. So what is one sort of, I call it a ninja tip that is super helpful that maybe we're not really thinking about that you pretty much give to all your clients that can make changes today, that people can implement today that will make a difference?
Two things. One is dealing with what you come in the door with immediately. So a lot of times our entryways or our counters or wherever your landing space is in your home are heavy clutter areas, and they're things that don't get dealt with. And then because they're not dealt with, they get shuffled off to another place where they're not dealt with later. And so making a habit of dealing with what you've come in the door with immediately can make a huge difference on your everyday kind of maintenance needs. I know that this is incredibly difficult with little babies, with toddlers who immediately need to eat or change their clothes, with activities to run right out the door for. There's a limit to what you can do, for sure. But when possible, if you immediately deal with the school bag, the groceries, the, shopping, the thing that you brought from someone who gave you a gift, instead of it landing wherever it lands, making a decision about it immediately, which will get easier as you do it more. But going ahead and taking it all the way through its process rather than having it stop when you come in the door can be super helpful.
Love that.
And the other thing is just to label everything.
Oh, okay.
Because then everybody in the family can participate in putting things back. And everybody can participate in knowing where things are. And this is big as the, mom, head of the household. I am not a mom personally, but I work with a lot of lovely moms, and they are the keepers of all of the information, where everything lives, where everything goes back, when we can't find things. And putting labels on things encourages, obviously, people to help you put them back, but also encourages people to be able to find their own things and see that things have a home, a specific home. You can label inside cabinet doors. They don't have to be unsightly and out to see all the time, but labeling inside drawers, labeling bins that are in storage super clearly so everyone knows what's there. It'll jog your memory too. And so it can be really, those are my biggest 2 hints.
I love it. I love it. Having a space for things right when you walk through the door, and labeling so the whole family can get involved and know where things are.
Yes.
Beth, this has been so valuable. Where can people learn more about you and what you do?
You can find me at my website, wilsonhomeorganizing.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Wilson Home Organizing.
Awesome. You guys, this is just a little bit of the value that Beth can bring to your home and the organization of your home. Please connect with her if you'd like to know more. I'll be sure to leave her link so you can reach out. This was our very first Ask the Expert series, so thank you for being our guinea pig. We're excited to bring you more valuable information. If you have somebody that you want interviewed, make sure to message us. Thanks so much for your time today, Beth. Get organizing, guys. Talk to you soon.